Hi, I'm Professor Bolt, and I'm going to be your guide through this journey into the Intro to Entrepreneurship. This is a strictly online course, but you will be doing lots of teamwork, so you're going to have to find some time to work with your teammates, and we'll get to that later on in the semester. So before I get into the course material, just a little bit about my background. I've been a professor at Columbia for 8 years, at Lehigh in Pennsylvania for 9 years, and then I moved to UCCS in 2003, in part to start the Bachelor of Innovation program, for which this course is a required element. I started the Bachelor of Innovation because I couldn't hire people in my second company with the skills I wanted. The sort of interplay between business and engineering is something that's really important in the business world, and I just couldn't find people with the skills I wanted. And this course lays a foundation for some of what I felt was really needed for students to excel in whatever field they are, not just in business, but within engineering or anything else, because at a minimum you need to understand some of what those processes look like. So this course will be your introduction. Hopefully it may inspire some of you to go on and take more courses within the Bachelor of Innovation, or if it's your last course and you're a graduating senior, this will set you up. We've had lots of students take this class who've come back and told me how this class was transformative in terms of what they're doing. Last year in March, or when COVID hit, by April I had a student who'd come back and was telling me how this course allowed them to transition when the restaurants in which they were working shut down, to have an alternative source of income while they were looking for other things. They turned to online sales of a product they knew at the time would do pretty well. They were selling COVID masks. So seeing the opportunity, but also having had the skills to know what they've done and the ability to say, this is something I can go out and do. They did some quick market research, figured out what they wanted to do with it, and then launched their sales. They've done okay with it, right? They're still hoping things will be back to normal. Another BI graduate who actually owns a restaurant up in Breckenridge recently told me how grateful she was for the Bachelor of Innovation program and all the skills she learned, not just in this course, but across many of them. As the pandemic hit and it impacted her bar or restaurant, she was able to use some of the strategies we've talked about throughout the Bachelor of Innovation to transform how she's running her business. And that's been very helpful for her to maintain revenue during this tough time. So hopefully you will never have to face these issues, but whether you're going to start a company this year in the course, we've had some companies come out of a course after you graduate, or if it's not until 10 or 15 years down the road, we want you to have the skills and the confidence to know that you know what the process is and you can do it. Because sooner or later you may decide you want to strike out on your own. Statistically, most entrepreneurs don't start their first things in college. They start them much later in life, once they have both a little bit more financial wherewithal, but also having the networks and seeing things, and recognizing that maybe you are smarter than your boss and you're tired of working for somebody who's not as good as you are and you want to do it off on your own. Sooner or later, hopefully you'll get that opportunity and you'll be able to succeed based on some of the skills you learned in this, but you'll have a lot more to go after this class. So now let's turn to what's going to go on inside the class. So starting with the course syllabus. Since this is a spring version of the course, I'm going to presume everyone is reasonably familiar with Canvas. If you are not familiar with Canvas, reach out to me and we can set up an appointment and I can show you some of the basics of Canvas, or at least show you some of the links to get going. It's hard to post those links in Canvas, since if you don't know Canvas, you can't get to them. I will be happy to get you going if it's your first semester at UCCS. So I'm your instructor. This shows you how to contact me, my cell phone and my email address. My office hours, which will be on Microsoft Teams, are Tuesdays 4 to 5 and by appointment. If I'm late for an appointment, feel free to just call the cell. The best way to contact me outside of my office hours is email. In general, I will respond to email within 24 hours, usually much sooner. On the weekend, it may take a little bit longer. You can contact me by phone if it's urgent. Voicemail messages will return as quickly as possible, but often takes longer than email in particular. Same is true with text messages. I can go days without noticing I have a voicemail or text message. Whenever I'm on meetings, including online meetings, my phone doesn't ring or give out text messages sounds. I've tied it to my calendar, so when everything's scheduled, I don't get interrupted. But I may actually read email during those online meetings, so that's why one of the reasons online can be faster. However, when I'm outside or offline, hiking or whatever, the phone is actually a better way. So if it's urgent, feel free to use both text or email, increase the chances to get right away. You can't contact me too often if it's an urgent issue, so just go ahead and reach out any way you can. If I don't answer an email within 48 hours, try again. I get somewhere between, it's cut down a little bit now, it's actually probably between 200 and 400 emails a day. That's not counting things that go through my spam filter and get removed. Those are just the actual emails I get. And if you're going to put email, especially if you're saying it from a non-UCCS account, make ssure you put ENTP1000 in the subject line so that it'll increase the chance it gets through my aggressive spam filters that get rid of a lot of stuff. Okay, so this course provides the theoretical background and some hands-on experience in entrepreneurship with a focus on teamwork. You're going to be working in entrepreneurial teams throughout most of this semester. And I believe it will actually, even though it's an online class, help you to build connections, but also make it a little bit more fun. Hopefully it will also be eye-opening, inspiring, and give you a potential to have a dramatically positive impact on your life. As with many things, the more you put into this course, the more you'll get out of it. I have pretty high demands in terms of what you'll see we expect in this course. So bring your energy, your mind, and your creativity. You're going to possibly reevaluate your reviews on entrepreneurship within this course in terms of the view of things in terms of entrepreneurial thinking and putting this mindset in action. One of the reasons I think that's actually important is because when I was in high school and college, even through most of my graduate studies, I had a relatively negative view of entrepreneurship, maybe because growing up on a farm, I'd seen a number of entrepreneurs who were basically taking advantage of people, the sort of slick salespeople who were trying to sell things, and that's what I thought entrepreneurship was all about. I didn't actually think about it, even though I ran a deli for the deli owner when she wanted to retire. I took over a lot of the operations. I wasn't looking at that in the same light because it was just different to me. It wasn't until much later when I realized the real value of entrepreneurial thinking, which I had for a long time, and the value that entrepreneurs should bring to society. So hopefully you may see some of those changes. Entrepreneurship is actually a very valuable thing within our society. Hopefully we'll help you develop some assessments of your capacity to be able to differentiate between entrepreneurial thinking and managerial thinking, play with some ideas to come up with some ideas to develop and find opportunities, evaluate them, refine them, develop a communicative business concept to determine its feasibility, gain the confidence it takes to use entrepreneurial thinking and action within future opportunities, and then on a dimension, this course is a sustainability flag course. We want you to understand sustainability as the interaction between human development and natural environment and how it works within the scope of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship can be a very positive force for sustainability, or if neglected, could be a bad force. So we want you to understand where those choices come from. Okay. To me, there's going to be three key skills you're going to get out of this course at the highest level, or three critical things I want to make sure you walk away with. And the first is developing a mindset for entrepreneurship that's going to allow you to build and create and evaluate entrepreneurial opportunities. The second is I want you to figure out how to work with other people so you can marshal resources and then form the teams driven by your creativity, leadership, and action to take those resources and achieve your entrepreneurial vision. The last thing is I want you to actually come up with some very practical skills. In particular, they'll be doing some stuff where I want you to understand some basics of finances, and if you're not a finance major, that's okay. We're not talking about high finances. We're talking about stuff that you can use day to day at a personal level, even if you never start a company. And as we'll see throughout this course, entrepreneurship, especially the entrepreneurial mindset, isn't about small startup companies or running a coffee shop or a deli. It's about a view that you can apply to almost any career in terms of understanding and analyzing opportunities and risks and moving forward in ways to get those things done. So this course is flagged as both Explore and Sustainability for the Compass curriculum. And so there's a number of things that, per the Compass curriculum, we want to set out. I'm not going to read through all these. They're in the syllabus. But a couple of high-level things is we want you to come away with the ability to understand critical thinking and creativity levels. We expect that of university students, in part gathering and analyzing quantitative and qualitative information within the discipline and applying that to be able to do things. We also want to make sure you have some core ethical principles that come up, and we'll talk about ethics a couple times throughout this course. From a sustainability point of view, you'll all be doing a sustainability paper. We want you to look at sustainable practices and their impacts relative to human development, the natural world, and how a business can actually support those kinds of initiatives, and then use that information maybe in designing your own business for this course. So you're going to go through a whole bunch of different types of activities. You'll have a number of independent assessments. in terms of your own work and quizzes from the material in the book. We'll be looking at customer interview feedback, classroom discussions. You'll have a midterm and final pitch, some peer review. There's a number of ways we'll be assessing you. So it's a very multi-dimensional assessment throughout this course, which is both good and bad. It's good in the sense that if you excel at the ability to work with people, that can be a large part of your grade and you can do reasonably well in this course. If you excel at book learning, you can demonstrate that through the quizzes and exams and demonstrate that as well. So it's a relatively easy course to pass if you put in the work. There's a lot of work to do. The disadvantage is you have to do, if you really want to ace the course, you're going to have to do reasonably well in both of those dimensions. But I think many of the students in this class will find that if you put in the work, that's going to get you through this class. By far, the students who have struggled in this class, it is not very hard. It's just a lot of work and you have to keep on top of it. Because this is an online course, I do want to caution you, it's easy to fall behind and then very difficult to catch up if you simply have that much work to do. The expectations in this class is you're going to be putting in between 6 to 7 hours a week. Yes, 6 to 7 hours a week is the expected workload for this class. And if you are a particularly slow reader or if you dilly-dally and you're not very efficient in what you're doing, you could double that time to catch up on the assignments. But normally that's what we're expecting in terms of where you're going. If you try and get by this class with 3 to 4 hours a week, you can probably still pass. At 2 to 3, you're going to struggle to pass unless you're really, really smart in terms of, or have the right experience. So you're going to have a semester-long project to generate and develop and actually pitch an idea that should be ready for pitching to investors at the end of the semester. And it may actually get pitched if it's good enough. With COVID, we're not going to have in-class final pitches. This is an online course, but I will take the students who take this seriously and have a really good pitch. We might introduce them to potential investors or partners, and unless you think that's just a side statement that we just like to talk about. In this class, when I've taught it, I've had multiple students who went on to partner with a company and raise funding for their idea, and we've had multiple startup companies come out of this that later on raised money out of the BI program. So this is something you could actually do. You'll be looking at peer reviews by your team members, so we'll talk about team grading in just a little bit. So conducting this class, you're online, you're here to learn, respect that others are too, and act accordingly. Especially when you're working on a team, we want you to treat your team members at least as well as you would expect to be treated, if not better. Think about how your grandmother would view that. We expect you to engage in online discussions, and I'll talk about those again in just a second. Respect the diversity of individuals. Not everyone has the same backgrounds, life experiences, personal choices, and some students here really want to get an A. Others, this is a required class and their goal is to pass. And you should have those kinds of discussions early on and respect what people's choices are. Just because you want to get something doesn't mean it's the same as what your team members want. You're going to have to work out what that's going to look like. If you're not sure about something, ask a question. It'll probably come up someplace else, but I'm dyslexic. I will make lots of very small errors. Spelling is a real challenge for me. Dates and things, I will sometimes mix them up and get them backwards. So if I ever say something that seems like it's not quite right, ask the question, because you might be saving you and a bunch of other people from a lot of headaches if I got something slightly wrong. Participate as a team member and follow through on your responsibilities and your commitments. When we talk about how to work on teams, we do recommend that you actually get individualized commitments of who's going to do what and follow through on those. All correspondences in this class should be conducted through UCCS email, and you're responsible for reading your UCCS email, and if you don't read it there, forward your mail from UCCS there. I will use lots of announcements and stuff within Canvas, so if you have Canvas on your phone and that gives you the right prompts, you'll be able to know it goes there. I actually will send many of the emails through Canvas, which will then forward it through to your system. You're responsible for tracking announcements through Canvas. Because this is an online class, we don't have regular meetings. You should be checking. Assignments might come up and there might be 3 or 4 days after I post something before something is due. I will make this class dynamic based on what I learn and through grading one assignment that might affect exactly what I do on the next one. Obviously, we want you to honor your word and tell the truth. It's not so much you have to repeat, but we've had some issues, so I like to make sure that you understand you'll be held to the campus honor code. So as I said earlier, expect to work at least 6 to 7 hours, if not more, beyond whatever class time we have for this project. So We will have some individual meetings. You'll see what I mean by class time when we get to that. A large portion of this will be working your team, but just to do the readings in the book will also take you some time, so you have to get going. This course is asynchronous online, but I still have to have some sort of timing and format. So we're going to be using a Wednesday through Tuesday. So week 1 content is generally available, well actually week 1 content is pretty much available now, on or before January 20th. And then assignments will be due the days that follow, including the sort of end of the week for our weekly schedule of Tuesdays. Similar schedule will follow throughout the semester with regular updates as we go through things. I will also tell you the first week is just a little bit lighter on assignments since people don't often get the book instantly, and although with ebooks you can pretty much do that now. It's a little bit lighter, and also people just need to get going. Students may drop or add classes in the first week, so there are 2 quizzes. In fact, quizzes are generally due on Tuesday in our schedule by midnight, but not all assignments are due on Tuesdays. There's many due on Fridays and a few that will show up on other days. For late assignments, you can lose 10 points per day for whatever points the kind of assignment is. So be especially careful of how you look at those. When they're only 10 points, that basically means you have 1 day to get them in. Be especially careful of discussions in Canvas, and I'll come back to that again later just to make sure you hit it, because we had problems with students missing them when I did this online before. Canvas will only show you the post date and not the reply by date, and that you'll have to keep track of 2 different things. And I've had students complain about that before, and I will tell you right now, in the real world of entrepreneurship, it's up to you to keep your own calendar of what is due when. The system prompting you with some of these things is a nicety, but you shouldn't depend on that for your scheduling within your life. You should figure out how to keep your own calendar. I highly recommend electronic calendars where you put stuff in and then use that to keep track of. So the textbook that is required is Entrepreneurship, the Practice and Mindset, the first edition. It's very important you get the first edition, which looks like this with the explosion of color on the cover. The second edition is like a dark blue color. Don't get that one. Get this one. It is available as an ebook from the bookstore. You can also find it online. I put a couple of links here. I know the bookstore likes to say they have this very competitive price thing and even a comparison price tool. I was able to find it with no difficulty online in various other places. There is, however, one advantage to the official version that you get through the bookstore, which is there's some premium videos and content. So if you're somebody who likes to learn from videos and likes to hear stories from real entrepreneurs, that can add some value. And those are linked within the syllabus, but none of the required questions that we ask about in the quizzes or none of the required content is from those premium videos. That's just something if you want to go for it. There's some supplemental other reading. I may actually use 1 or 2 of these throughout the semester, but in general, these are just things I like to put together so that students can go look for other things depending on what your skills are, and if you have the interest, you can go learn a little bit more. None of our assignments will require these, but I may point to them from time to time. So Canvas and MS Teams. We'll be using 2 tools for this class, Canvas and Microsoft Teams. Canvas is the online system that I'm showing you sort of some things through right now. This will be my primary means of communication, course assignments, materials, and sort of all asynchronous material will be linked directly through Canvas. I will be posting videos and things throughout that. It's where our online quiz and exams will be, discussion boards, everything else. You can also check your grades in there confidentially, so you can see your grade, but you can't see anybody else's. So if you haven't used it, as I said, figure out, and if not, come back and I can get you some things. One thing that you may not have used in the past, so for our online quizzes, they will be in Canvas. They should have minimal time pressure. They're about 30 minutes and only 10 to 15 questions for each of the quizzes. The midterm and final exam will also be in Canvas, but because the quizzes, I'm not doing anything to stop you. You can look online or whatever. They are time limited, so you don't have time to read the chapter and look things up during the quizzes, but you do have time, you'll be able to access your resources. The exams will be online and will require the use of a web camera enabled device to support the respondent's monitor. So if you have a Chromebook that does not have a camera in it, you're gonna have to find some other way to be able to take those exams. We've had a couple students try it on your phone. I just strongly don't recommend that unless you can hook your phone up to a bigger monitor. There's a lot of questions and a lot of typing in those questions to answers. They're not just multiple choice. The quizzes are almost all multiple choice, but the midterm and final will have essay questions, so you have to type a lot, which can be a little challenging on your phone. When you're using Respond as Monitor, it will be closed book. Things are locked down. You can't get to any other resources, so you need to plan for that. And that's actually one of the differences between the quizzes and the exam. The quizzes, we're checking and keeping you on pace and showing some basic understanding. The exams are a deeper assessment of your actual learning, and hence the essay questions. We'll be using Microsoft Teams mostly for your teamwork within this class. You're going to have some online synchronous meetings of your teams, not the whole class, just your team, for which you should have a camera with a computer again, because you're going to want to record those, and generally I expect your cameras to be on. If there's some reason not to have them on, we can talk about that, but there's a lot I learn about how students are interacting and what their effectiveness as team members are by looking at the faces, and you should learn to look at faces of people when you're working on a team. It's become common for people to turn off cameras for lots of these online meetings, and there's times when that's appropriate, but when you're working in a team, especially in the very beginning, I want to see people looking at each other as you're communicating. It's an important skill that you'll want to build on. Microsoft Teams is also be holding office hours, so you can look for me there. You can also, and I forgot to say this when you were talking about messaging, you can send me messages in Microsoft Teams. It generally stays running on my desktop, so I will get messages there as well, although it's not as efficient as email. Sometimes it can be. Okay, so the course, this is subject to change, but here's how I expect the course to go down. It's a little bit different from what I've done in the past couple of semesters, in particular with COVID. Some of the teamwork that I would normally do is a lot more difficult to do since it's harder to go out and physically interact with people. So I've downplayed that, and I've increased a couple of individual assignments to make that a little bit easier to balance things out. So the first three things are your team groups, your team assignments. So there'll be individualized, there'll be assignments for your team to work on, and videos. You'll do multiple videos that add up to your weight, your assignment. And then there's a midterm pitch and a final pitch, which are individual things that happen. And they account for about 25%. The team assignment is 15%. So overall, your team work is around 40%. Your individual discussions and individual written assignments will be about 15% of your grade. Quizzes 20, the exams are 15, and the sustainability paper is 10. So even though we have a midterm and a final, they're not the dominant part of your grade. You have lots of these little pieces that add up, which is both good and bad. Everything doesn't ride on one midterm or final exam. And on the quizzes, I will be dropping one lowest quiz. So if you just mess one up, you have a chance to recover a little bit more. So there's a lot of things you'll have to keep track of. But if you do this and you stay on top of things every week, it's pretty straightforward to do reasonably well in this class. Very important, and I know some of you have had team assignments, and many students get frustrated by team assignments, but in the BI in general, and in this class in particular, grades for team assignments are not necessarily, in fact rarely are, uniform across team members. Not all employees of a startup get equal shares or equal pay, so it is with grades. You'll be doing peer assessments when we talk about how to split the grades for the team, once in the midterm, once at the final. And then I will use that, but mostly I'm the one who decides how the team grades get split. I just use your input as input, but I get to watch the team videos every week, so I get to see how your team is interacting, who's there, who's doing what. But sometimes there are people who had good reasons and missed a couple of videos, and their teammates say, yeah, they're really pulling their work, and I will consider that when we go to the scores. And the team split grade will be posted basically as an adjustment to the number of points for you get with respect to your team. So, and that can be a positive number if you did better than average of your team, and negative number if you did worse than average of your team, and so you'll see that as that happens. The final course, one other thing about midterms and finals I forgot to mention, the exams will be curved, so don't freak out. When they get posted, you'll sort of see there's a raw score, and then I will curve them based on how they are. Overall, you're going to get this weighted score based on these things above. As I said, we dropped the lowest quiz grade. So you have to be a little careful. Canvas now has a tool that actually does let it automatically drop your lowest quiz grade. So that means as things go, things will be changing along the way. And then we have a relatively standard grading scale in terms of your overall percentages within the class. So teams are going to be formed in the first couple of weeks, probably by week 3. So there are going to be a few get-to-know team assignments that will last 1 week. So you'll be assigned on a team that's just temporary, one to get you working with people, so you can also get to experience what different people are like. And then you're going to work throughout the rest of the semester on a couple of assignments that are going to work towards your business pitch and business plan and working things out. Teams may be killed off after the midterm pitch, and individuals forced to regroup based on that. So it's extremely important in this class you take your teamwork seriously and act quickly to raise and resolve any team issues. If you're having team members that don't respond or don't interact, don't hesitate to contact me with issues. My job is not to solve those issues, but to help you solve them. If you have a team member who's happy with just passing the class, you may have a hard time getting the same level of work out of them as if you choose a team member that says, no, my goal is to get an A, right? Because there's different expectations of how much work they're willing to put in. But team grades don't have to be uniform, so you also don't have to completely freak out. If you have a team member that's happy with getting a C and they're just putting in C-level work, well, you can adjust grades as things happen, and we'll be able to see that happening. This course actually requires you to read the textbook. I will have some lectures for much of the material, but mostly my videos are to supplement the book, not to replace the reading in it. Entrepreneurship is an activity that requires lots of information gathering, and while there's more and more stuff that you can find on videos, it's going to be a long time before videos replace reading information and content for entrepreneurs. There's just a lot of stuff that is never going to really be out there in videos because it doesn't have a wide enough audience. As an entrepreneur, part of what's going to happen is you're going to want to uncover data that not everyone is using, because that's what gives you some of your advantage is you know more than other people, and that's what you're going to use some of that information to help you get ahead. And so no one's going to make videos for you if there's only a small audience. Just because I don't cover something in a video lecture does not mean it's not important. Videos will often be more focused on issues that are related to discussions or where I think the book is lacking. So I would say probably half of my video stuff is stuff that's not in the book that I wish was, but there just wasn't a perfect book. So when you see the quizzes, recognize that you should have read the entire chapter. The quiz material is explicitly is following the book pretty closely, because I know there's a lot of students that prefer that they know exactly what they have to know. So if you've read everything in the chapter, then the quizzes and the will be relatively straightforward. When we get to midterm exams, some of that will come from material that's not in the book. And one chapter on IP, the book was just lacking, so I added stuff. You will be developing and working so that most of you can pitch as if this was going to a real investor. The instructor, I'll provide you feedback in the final pitch. In the past, we've actually had whole classes pitched to the local business community. With the COVID, that's become difficult. For an online class, it's difficult. But I will take, if any of you are really good at this, and I have some really good videos, I will be able to share them with some real community members to see if there's something to move forward. I want to find a balance between this class being for your learning and this class helping a couple of students who might really want to launch a business to launch a business. I've taught this class many times. We've had multiple projects that actually ended up having revenue before they were done this semester. And that's the step towards a real business. But not everyone's down that path, so we're not going to make everyone do it. And we're not going to subject community members to watching a bunch of not necessarily very good pitches. So we want to find a balance. As I said, there will be a midterm and a final, and approximately one quiz per chapter. These are all individual scores. They'll go together in terms of how your individual assignments go. Discussion participation. A good portion of your grade comes from individual class participation in terms of these online discussions. Most discussions require you to have a discussion. You're going to both post and then engage with the discussion and reply to others. Because Canvas only has one date for assignment, that's going to be the date by which you have to have your initial post. But for full credit, you have to follow up with the assignment description, multiple replies, and their associated dates. Many of these will require you to engage multiple times per week, not just one post and forget about it. So you might want to get in the habit of, okay, I'm going to post by this date, I'm going to log in, make sure I read a bunch of other people's, make a first set of replies, maybe on Thursday if you posted on Tuesday, and then on Saturday, try it again. So you get multiple times across that. Not something I should have to cover, but we don't tolerate any harassment of pretty much anybody in class. Since this class is online, it's a little bit safer in many of these ways, but if you see anything, report them to the proper campus authorities or tell me, and I can help you figure out how to report them. Military students, if you are military and you have the potential of being called to military service training during the course semester, contact me. We can work things out. Similarly, if you are an athlete, condolences for the lack of the ability to have lots of your events, but contact me. We can generally work stuff out, especially because this is an online class. That's relatively straightforward. The two things that are going to be the most difficult to change are the midterm and final, obviously, but also you're going to have regularly scheduled meetings with your team, and that's really outside of my control. Your teams will schedule that, so you'll just have to work with them on Academic dishonesty includes, but isn't limited to plagiarism, cheating, fabrication, falsification, multiple submissions, misuse of facilities and stuff. We'll turn this basically into the campus appropriate people and have the right, if I as a faculty member think that there was cheating involved, you can get a 0 on that assignment or even a 0 all the way up to a failure in the class, depending on how severe I think it was. So just don't do it. If you have disabilities and you have accommodations, just let me know, send me email. If you think you have disabilities and you've never been diagnosed with them, that choice is up to you if you want to. Contact Disability Services to find out more about receiving accommodations. The most dominant accommodation is, extra time on quizzes and exams, which is relatively straightforward for me to give. Accommodations that say you can't do public speaking or you can't work on a team, those are, you can ask for them, but you're not going to get to avoid either of those. It's a requirement of this class, and as a requirement of this class, it can't be waived for you to work on a team, and it can't be waived for you to have to be on camera and give presentations. So then here's sort of a summary as things go out. Not all of this is visible to you, but you'll sort of see every week there's generally a couple of chapter quizzes and some elements due. And so I will bring those up as we get through them. So every week has got a bunch of material. So just a few things about Canvas if you've not looked at it. So if you've used it before, this will be straightforward, but otherwise if you click on modules, modules will generally show you material. So here's week 1. This course intro is not here. That's actually where I'm going to upload this video. I'll also email this so that students can see where to get going. This video talks about my background as an entrepreneur. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've literally made billions in some of my companies now. And I'm teaching this class because I really love teaching. It's part of what I love to do. And then there's a discussion, a computer simulation you're going to have to go through, which we'll then have a discussion about it the next week, and then 2 quizzes. So hopefully you won't have any problem covering all of this material. I am going to, this semester, I'll be adding sort of a weekly quick video that sort of talks about what's due this week and generally talks about my observations from what I've seen in the grading and the materials from the past week. I am going to have a student grader who will be doing some of the grading, but I will still look through assignments even if he or she is doing the grading. So when it comes to like how things get graded, I may pass you off to them if you have some questions about how individual things were graded. The quizzes are computer graded, so they're relatively straightforward. So as you go through this, you'll see different assignments every week, and this can work through what's going on. Also, if you are new to it, again, you have to be a little careful, but over here on the right-hand side will be either a calendar view or a coming up view that sort of shows you what kinds of things you want to do. If you want to send email, there is this thing over here, which is your inbox. You can click on that and use that to, within the system, send me mail. Individual elements, these are not, again, these are the instructor views, so you can't necessarily see all of those. Once the textbook is properly set up by the bookstore, there were some issues because my class was online. For some reason, it did not get connected, so you can sort of see there's no bookstore material associated here. Hopefully it will be added soon. And then you'll be able to, like from the modules, once that's added, if you've bought the textbook from the bookstore, then when you click on, things like the ebook, it will take you there. It's currently disabled because you can't go anywhere with it, but I'll be enabling a bunch of those. So each of the chapters have some learning objectives, what you hope to get out of it, the link to a book, some flashcards you can use to help prepare for the quiz if you want. These are the premium materials and some open access materials, and then a video review. And that's going to be true for just about each of the chapters in terms of where things are going to go. So thanks to our quick introduction. Hopefully I will be seeing people online. Your first assignment, which I will cover now, is introductions and observations. So this is an online discussion. Again, it's going to have the sort of 2 general pieces. And in terms of your grade, I've not exactly split what the split will be, but it'll probably be 30% for the first piece and 60%, 70% for the last. So the first thing is to introduce yourself and some of your interests. So 1 to 200 words with a photo of yourself. This should include what's your major, a bit about your background and experience, describe at least 3 areas of interest outside of entrepreneurship, and put a short description, put the short description and your photo in your profile. So if I go over here under my account, I'll come back to that later, but if you click on your photo over there, you can add your profile, and that's useful because later on it helps me keep track of different students, and other students can then go back and look up what you're interested in. Relatively short, why are you taking ENTP1000 in an online mode? This class has a wait list. The 3 other sections all have room, or 4 other sections. So I'm curious why everyone wants to take this class online. So it's not a lot, just 50 words on that. This is for me to help understand as I design some of the course elements. Briefly describe 3 problems you have observed. So this is the beginning of looking for business opportunities. We want you to describe 3 problems you have observed. Each of them, you should describe them in 50 to 150 words. So not a lot, but also not just one sentence. And I want to have, in that, I want a visual description of the person who had the problem, when and where you observed it the first time, and how many times you have observed it since. Okay, only one of these can be your own problem, something that you experience. You can have as one of these. But the others have to be observations of problems that other people have. Okay, and importantly in this, I don't want you to discuss your solutions. Don't tell me how to solve the problem. I only want observations of what the problem is. You're going to post this by replying to this thread. Down here, there's a reply. You click on that, and that will let you reply. You won't be able to read anyone else's posts until you've seen it. And I'm not worried if people have the same observations, because in fact, if 3 people have the same observations, that might lead to saying, wow, that's a big enough problem. Multiple people have seen it, and those people might want to work together in solving it. But do not talk about solutions, right? So this is due by next Friday, 11:59 p.m., Friday, January 22nd. That's the due date of this first set of overall posts, your introduction, why you're taking this class, and your 3 observations. On the 23rd, I will post, probably using the online system for peer reviews, but I might post someplace else. We'll figure out how exactly I want to do this all semester. You're going to be given 3 people to give peer reviews for. So each peer review is 100 or so words. Give you some minimum length of what we're looking about. And you're going to make that review about at least one of their observed problems. In fact, ideally, it's just spend the whole time discussing one problem, the one you think has the biggest market potential if it could be solved. Okay, your peer review should start with the positive things, as a peer review did. What are the good things you saw? And if you've also observed the problem, even though you might not have listed it. And then you can discuss the potential issues you see. How many people have it? Is somebody already solving it, whatever. Again, we don't want to discuss any solutions, only observations of the problem or observations about existing solutions. Don't tell us new ways to solve the problem. With respect to the peer review, if I use the peer review system, it'll tell you who to give feedback to. The problem I had with that last semester is that lots of students struggled because sometimes the peer reviews aren't really public, and that's positive. So if you want to give somebody a comment to just them, you can use the peer review system to give them private comments. But we want a discussion here, so I want this to all be public. So that's why I may not end up using it. I have to decide quickly this week. So we want your comments to be in public, which basically you go into the post and you reply to the post that had it posted, and that's where you put your comments. Your comments and peer review feedback is due by next Tuesday, January 26th. So that will give you the weekend and a day or so to work on it. And I do recommend once you get your assignment, you go look at what people have posted. You can also see why I'm being pretty harsh on being late, because on the 23rd, I'm going to start assigning these peer reviews. If you've not posted something for your first assignment by Friday night, then Saturday morning, there's nothing for me to assign for people to review you. If you get it in late, it just makes things a mess. So you want to get this in on time. This last part of ideas, if you're struggling with some ideas, the video link I've posted here is a short video that gives you some ideas about how to think about doing that last part of the assignment. So that's your first assignment for next week. Your other elements for next week are chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book, and then their associated post-test. And then this is actually not due until the end of, so the Tuesday the 26th. And this is what we call the coffee shop simulation. You're going to start this assignment, and this part is something you're going to do on your own. You're going to basically click on this link. You're going to play a very simple coffee shop game. You're going to be able to purchase supplies, create your coffee recipe, set your price. Each day you're going to be in prep mode where you update your inventory, adjust your recipe, set your price. Inventory is very simple: coffee, cups, milk, sugar, and recipe price, how much of these you put together. You only get one recipe for all customers for a day, so you can't, this isn't Starbucks, you can't order a cappuccino for one person and half calf for somebody else, right? One set of coffee for everybody. And then you gather information as the game plays. So based on this description above, before you do anything else for this assignment, I want you to write up between 75 and 100 words on your initial business strategy. If this is what you were told, what would your strategy look like? Then I want you to play the game, and I want you to take notes on your observation while playing each of the first 3 rounds, as well as your score after each round. So the first days go by, so every round is a day. So I want you to start with, here's my observation, here's what we're playing. If you find this, and I want you to actually take those before you go on to the next round. Some of the stuff like your score and whatever, if you want to do a screen grab to make that quick and then translate the document you're going to turn in, that's fine. But I want you to write your observations after each round. Not wait till you're done playing the game and make the observations. I want observations after each round. And then the game goes on for longer than 3 rounds, but I don't want to beat you to death for every round. So finally, after you're done, write up your overall observations from the first 3 rounds, as well as your final learning about what mattered to your score. And you're going to put this all in a document. And then reflect with between 50 and 100 words on what lessons you think this provides for general entrepreneurship. So a number of things we're going to do in this class. Rather than me telling you what to expect, I want you to observe stuff and learn from it, because I believe such lessons last longer. So you're going to upload this as either a doc file or PDF file. So this is also due on January 26th. So that's your assignments for next week. Welcome to ENTP1000. Looking forward to reading about you in your introductions and observations. If you want to reach out to me because you have some particular ideas, you have my email, go ahead and contact me, and we'll meet again online next week.